Okay, I'm going to record this video to give my insight of the second driving lesson that I have taken. What I've learned is you have to make sure you're focusing on the first to start with the objective. What's the objective of the road? The objective of the road is to get to your destination that you want to go using a vehicle. You're using the road because it's faster. You're using the road to get to a destination that you want to go. That's the objective. You're using the road to what's the reason what's the reason you use the road with a car? You're using the road with a car to arrive at a destination that you have planned beforehand. Okay, and now what have we learned from our second lesson? We learned that there are road marks on the carriageway. Carriageway equals road. There are markings. You have to pay attention to those markings. You have to pay attention to stop signs, to signs. In the road, we learned that when there's a main road, and that's called a T-junction when you're in a side road, and then there's the main road. I think it's in that scenario, or any, could be side or side. But right now it's main road and side road. Side road, then you have the main road, then you always have to stop, even if there's no stop sign. And if there's nowhere, if there's no clear view for your left and right, then you have a mirror right in front of you, usually, to be able to check if cars are coming from the right side. If you're going on the left. And if you're going on the left, you have to check the left external mirror. When you're turning on the left, you have to check your left external mirror, and when you don't have any sight for the direction you want to go. If you want to go to the left, first check behind you, there's no one going to your left. Then you check the road that you're about to go into, that there's no cars coming. That's it. You want to make sure that your car doesn't get hit, and that you don't hit someone else, because you can get sued, right? Because you can get sued. You want to make sure that you don't get hit and you don't hit someone else. Therefore, you check on your left behind you if cars are coming, and you check the road that you're going to, the destination. Cars are coming. And Then there's when you can't see, hey, check, there's probably a mirror. Check. If you can see, then go a little bit forward and look through the windows. Look through the windows and mirrors as well. I think you can use mirrors, but in my lesson I didn't use the external mirrors that well. Next lesson I will definitely rearrange the mirrors because they were too, can you say, further down from my eyesight level, and I have to look down. I don't want to look down ever. And that's probably a technical issue, that's probably a car issue. We learned automatic. You don't have to press on the clutch to press on the clutch for the car not to stop, because what's the reason the car is stopping? The car is stopping because the engine is running, and then there's the transmission with the input shaft into the friction disc, which some other people call clutch plate, and that attaches to the flywheel, which is bolted to the, I think it's called the engine crank shaft, or just the engine is bolted to the engine. And when you press on the clutch, what you're doing is you're releasing the pressure plate, which is moving the friction disc from the flywheel, and the flywheel is always spinning because it's connected to the car. It's only always spinning when the engine is on, and the engine usually is around 800 revolutions per minute. The car is, when the engine is running, it's not the car. The car is the product, right? The car is the product. I think when you say the car running equals even the wheels and everything, and how do the wheels move? With the gears. And how do the gears move? With the engine. Those are the basics. Engine. And how do you feed the engine? With fuel. This is how it works. And I think the most efficient thing is, if I'm actually going to drive the road, which probably I will be driving the road, I would get an automatic. That's much more efficient. You don't want to be pressing on the clutch and making sure you detach the transmission, the friction plate from the engine. Because remember, if the car is still, the gears are still. If the gears are still, then there would be the revolutions per minute from the engine being on, which would need to torque. I think it's called torque. Torque equals force times. Actually, let me check. Torque equals, I was going to say force times mass and acceleration, but there's distance in torque. force equals mass times acceleration. Exactly, force equals mass times acceleration, and torque equals torque. I need to find it in my book. I could search it up, but I think going through a book that has the definition of torque would be more efficient long term, because it's all structured and you have the references and you will actually know where the data is coming from. Versus if I search on Google AI, yes, I will get the answer. And yes, I could know the source by going on the website. But that's it. It's not a library where I would have everything in one file, because the book would be a one file. Torque. Okay, I found it. Torque is a term used to describe a rotating force. Okay, force equals mass times acceleration that may or may not result in motion. Okay, when the engine is because the flywheel is moving, and that would be torque with the gears, and that would not result in motion because it doesn't have enough power to be able to move those idle gears, unless you then turn up the accelerator, which means you're giving more power to the engine, higher revolutions per minute. Torque is measured as the amount of force applied by the length of the lever through which it acts. Where's the formula? Force multiplied by the length of the lever through which it acts. If you use a 1 foot long wrench to apply 10 pounds of force to the end of the wrench to turn a bolt, then you're exerting 10 pound-feet of torque. 10 pounds-feet. 10 pound-feet. Torque is the twisting force measured at the end of the crankshaft, and the crankshaft, actually going to search this up, I want to validate what I already know. Crankshaft equals where the flywheel is bolted, right? No, it's not, it's actually rotating mechanical components inside an engine that converts the linear up and down motion of pistons into rotational energy. Pistons and rods. And I know already that the crankshaft is listed in the book as well. This is how the book is very efficient. It's very efficient. Because now, whenever your brain recalls something, it knows, hey, this is the book that I read, has this amount of pages, has these chapters, it was covered by these people who have these professions, who have these background, and by reading the book you're mapping out the world as well, which drastically improves your decision making. Can't find the exact formula in the book, and my PC actually is running out of memory and it's taking long to load. I might search it up online, torque formula. Search that up. Actually, it's because I don't have internet, I think. Why the torque formula? Torque measured in Newton meters, the magnitude of the applied force. What is magnitude? We know vector is magnitude times direction. Magnitude, size, the length of the lever arm or radius r, and then the angle between the force vector and the lever arm vector. Torque equals the length of the lever arm times the magnitude of the applied force in newtons times sine, and then you have parentheses and you have the angle. Okay, let me take this down. What really was the principle that I need to take from mapping out the world? And that is driving. What's the reason you're driving? The reason you're driving is to take you to a destination, and you're only going to that destination because you think it's more efficient to go to that destination, or you have a larger reward if you go to that destination, or else you wouldn't drive the car on the road. You would drive the car on the road to go somewhere. That's probably, hey, I'm going to the lab to use these tools to research and actually solve a problem. That's the only reason you would use the road. You'd use the road you would use the road because you want to go to a destination, and you assign to that destination that it's a higher perceived value. It has higher perceived value than not going there. It's higher cost if you didn't go there. It's lower cost if you went there, because you have two states, okay? Predicted action of not going there, okay? If I don't go to this place, what's gonna happen? Versus, if I go to this place, this is what's going to happen. You evaluated those two and said, okay, I need to go there. And that could be, example, school. At short term, your brain might say, okay, it's inefficient, but you think 4 years ahead, it's efficient to go here because X, Y, and Z. Which could always be flawed because it's only based from your brain's data. But how else would you know unless it's already been tested? and you have other data saying otherwise. Okay, so the basic principle, you're going to the road because it takes you from one location to another. You're using the road to go to a destination. You're using the road to go to a destination. You're using the road to go to a destination. You're driving a vehicle to go to a destination. And you're driving the vehicle to go to your destination because from your current situation and from your brain's data, therefore we can remove from your current situation, but from your brain's data, that is perceived as the most efficient thing to do right now. And it's using the car to go to the destination. You're using the car to go to the destination because you think that's the most efficient thing to do. And based on, you can say, the timeline you used, long term, short term. Okay, I'm uploading these videos to improve my English, to be able to explain clearly. In the next videos, I will be able to structurally explain what I have just went through in a very easy to understand format. And I would probably summarize in the end. I would start with the facts, or I would start with okay, what's the subject? It's about a car, okay. Now we have the objective. What's the objective of the car? Always. You always must have the objective. Okay, the objective is that. Okay, what's the environment? Just the effects of the environment. Environment, I'm in X country, I'm in... actually, is that applicable to every country? Probably it's done what the road does. And then I will list the facts, let's say from what I've learned, and let's say from before and now, and what changed because of this, and then how this applies to other factors in your life, other areas in your life, but it's not your life. We have to make it explicit. Your life is very vague. Just because you perform different actions than another person doesn't mean what you're doing is efficient. Okay? Therefore, your life, that's not measurable. Your life, you need something measurable. And we'll define that. And that could probably be in the beginning, and we could probably have some assumptions as well. And my objective with this is to be able to speak proper English and very easy to understand with a format that I can use for not only explaining the car lessons that I've been to, but any aspect ever, even engineering, explaining physics, explaining to a person, any person. I can communicate effectively, and I can tell them what my brain is thinking, and they will understand. They will see the exact images I'm seeing in my brain, and they will be able to understand what I'm predicting. That's my objective with this, to be an effective communicator. That's it.